Well, the fourth and final day of the Republican National Convention kicks off in a few hours, with the GOP making its pitch to voters on re-electing President Trump for another term. I want to welcome Adolfo Franco, no relation. He's a Republican strategist and member of Latinos for Trump Coalition. Hi, Adolfo. Thanks for joining us today.
Delighted to be with you.
So we are less than 70 days away from Election Day. Key swing states that'll be helping decide the race for the White House, like Arizona and Florida, for example, they're made up quite a bit of a Latino population, and that also makes up a large portion of the electorate this fall. We've seen Joe Biden ramping up his efforts to reach out to Latinos, especially young Latinos, to bridge the gap. So what is President Trump's campaign doing to make sure that Latinos support him in November?
Well, we've been working with the Latino community, not just campaigning. We're certainly getting our message. There are a couple of things. First, what we're doing, which is the constructive thing for our community. President Trump had the best record for Latinos in U.S. history. We had the lowest unemployment records ever for the Latino community under President Trump until this sanitary or this health emergency that we're facing right now. Secondly, and most importantly, is 611,000 Latinos came out of poverty, the poverty level. Donald Trump. Why? Lower taxes, cutting regulation, supporting entrepreneurs, which is a very Latino thing. People come to this country, the Latino community is entrepreneurial. So those are the deeds, and that's why they're very nervous about the Latino vote. The fact is, the matter is, Joe Biden has never reached out in his career, ever in 50 years, to the Latino community. And even recently, they just began an effort, a PR effort. He didn't consider a Latino woman seriously for the VP. The one that was being considered, she had to drop herself, a senator from Nevada, I think, to save face. So this is, to the Latino community, a stranger in every way, except he's identified with the previous administration's economic failures and the deporter-in-chief, better known as ex-President Obama.
Yeah, and when you look at the issues that are important to Latino voters, the two candidates on the ticket, at the top of the ticket, are very different. Joe Biden seems to have moved farther left on issues like immigration. Yeah. In fact, the DNC slammed President Trump's hardline stance on immigration during the DNC. And then we see Republicans are highlighting these real-life stories of Latinos from countries like Cuba to warn about the dangers of socialism, which the far left wing of the Democratic Party appears to be hoping Joe Biden adopts through policy if he wins. So how effective does the Trump campaign think this approach is going to sway voters that might be undecided?
Well, I think, first of all, most Latinos want legal immigration into this country. Those who are voting, we want immigration, but we want it legally. So we understand the president's law and order theme, whether it's in the terrible violence we're seeing in American cities or along the border. We don't want gangs coming into this country. Most Latinos are escaping this from their home countries. They're escaping gangs, poverty, and frankly, socialism. Unlike other ethnic groups, probably Latin Americans understand the failures of socialism and the danger more than most other Americans, just by our experience. You have his, if you will, comrade, I'm sure he'd like that word, Bernie Sanders on his unity platform, a person who refuses to call Nicolas Maduro a dictator, a person who vacationed in the ex-Soviet Union, not Russia, communist Soviet Union, a person who I traveled with, Bernie Sanders and his wife, 20 years ago when I was on Capitol Hill. And at that time, 20 years ago, he was singing the praises, Bernie Sanders, of Hugo Chavez. This is the agenda. I've been in politics for a long time, 40 years. I came to Washington in the Reagan administration. I can tell your listeners, this election isn't about policy. We just heard Eric Trump about comparing it to Bill Clinton in a different era, the role of government, how large it would be. It's about what Joe Biden, who's a captive and hostage of the hard left, has said it would be, transforming America. Translation, changing it, destroying it, rebuilding it in the model of socialism. Absolutely against the instincts of every Latino voter.
And Adolfo, I want to talk about some polling data that I was taking a look at. President Trump won 28% of the Latino vote in 2016. That beat out polls going into Election Day by nearly double digits. He did better with this group compared to Mitt Romney in 2012. I mean, even Bob Dole in 96. Now, we're seeing this national poll float around this month. It shows Biden's leading the president among Latinos in some key swing states like Florida. Now, do you think the president will prove the polls wrong again in 2020?
Yes, I think the president is going to prove the polls wrong on every score, but particularly on the African American and Latino side. There's no question in my mind. First of all, the record is not lost on our community, and frankly, I have to say the African American community as well, what the president has done. And people understand the failed politician who is running for the third time for president, by the way, a plagiarist, that's why he dropped out of the first race, who's been in Washington for 50 years, has delivered zero. So this isn't lost on people. I think the president is going to have a record Latino vote and a record African American vote. And this isn't just wishful thinking. This is our internal polling, our analysis in the key states, and it's because the message against resonate. No one wants their taxes raised. This came out of Joe Biden's mouth during the debates. You vote for me, you're going to have your taxes raised. So $4.2 trillion. Latinos don't. They're coming here for opportunity. The ones that are recent, and that's the difference here.
All right, certainly a lot of moving parts to this, and excitement certainly building. Of course, the last night of the RNC taking place tonight, and then less than 70 days to go before the election. Adolfo Franco, Republican strategist and member of Latinos for Trump Coalition, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you very much.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.